The first game held tons of promise and ended up very hit or miss, but after seeing today's Watch Dogs 2 world premiere, I am so excited for this sequel. What's going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo. Today we're talking all about Watch Dogs 2. Ubisoft took the opportunity to have a pre-E3 briefing revealing tons of gameplay, character details, system information, and more for Watch Dogs 2. The game is coming out November 15th, and it looks absolutely awesome. Now, just to give you a little history on my thoughts of Watch Dogs 1, I really liked the core concept of the game, being a hacker in a big city, taking advantage of technology and electronics to dismantle your foes, and hunting down secret organizations, infiltrating and extracting was a great, just overall foundation. Unfortunately, every other layer on top seemed to either falter or detract from what they were going for. It felt too much like a GTA wannabe and suffered from bland mission design, really not so great, and probably too much of it driving, and a kind of bratty, annoying character. Watch Dogs 2 looks to fix a lot of that, and I really have faith in sort of the twos from Ubisoft, because we saw huge improvements with Assassin's Creed 2 over Assassin's Creed 1. That still is my favorite Ubisoft game ever made. I think that Far Cry 2 saw notable improvements over Far Cry 1, and hopefully Watch Dogs 2 finds the same giant quantum leap over its predecessor as these other franchises underneath the Ubisoft label. And from what we saw today, it looks like it. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. It releases on November 15th, 2016. Obviously, it's available for all the platforms. The box art is super sexy. It's set in San Francisco, and the city looks amazing. They're really emphasizing a lot of the quirkier aspects of San Francisco, a lot of the street life, a lot of the nightlife, a lot of the Silicon Valley sort of intrigue with businesses and tech and unique environments, as well as some of the architectural qualities of San Francisco, the bridge, the different areas. Who knows? Maybe you'll eventually go to Alcatraz. That's got to be in there, right? Especially with the whole hacking criminal thing. But where it starts to get even more amazing is that they decided to focus all of their attention and pour their efforts into the hacker culture here. So no longer are you sort of Mr. Brooding, computer smart guy, Aiden Pierce. You're now Marcus, and he is part of DedSec, which, if you remember from Watch Dogs 1, was the secret hacker organization that Clara was part of. And they really almost, in this game at least, feel like an anonymous type organization where they are going to not only try and protect the world for freedom and for, individuality and not being held down by these megacorps, but they also are up to sort of no good at times and trolling and causing havoc and really doing kind of nefarious things. It's not to say that Marcus is a complete villain, but he's surely not a pure hero. I mean, he's got a freaking 3D printer that he's making guns out of, which is really kind of a nice touch. And again, I like how they're just embracing this culture and this vibe completely. Marcus is a young African-American dude with clearly a hip-hop influence and sort of a really fresh feel for the franchise and just for gaming in general. And I like the fact that they're really setting their own tone and giving Watch Dogs 2 its very own soundtrack per se to run with, as opposed to trying to be, playing to the tune of Grand Theft Auto or, even Assassin's Creed or Ghost Recon or something like that. It really feels like they wanted to flesh out what makes Watch Dogs Watch Dogs. And if you watch the interviews with the developers and sort of their whole presentation, which I also have up on the channel, you'll see that they were very aware of player feedback and wanted to improve on this in every way. And it starts there with the character and the vibe and the feel. And you really get that sense from the trailers and just the overall production of the game. From there, they really wanted to make sure the gameplay felt Watch Dogs-like in every way. So there's a much higher emphasis on tech and hacking. Now there's much more that you can hack. You can hack vehicles. You can hack like forklifts, cranes, things like that. You can also hack everyone in the world. So not only are there specific targets that you'll need to interact with, but now you can have anyone's phone ring or mess with people in any way, as well as mass messing. A little bit of a tongue twister there, where they showed sort of a sequence near a courtyard where tons of people all had their cell phones ring. Now, how realistic is this? I'm not quite sure, but it looks a lot of fun. Marcus also has a lot more gadgets this time around. So he has a quadcopter drone that he can fly to scout, and it looks like there's also side missions and sort of like flying races with that. He's got an RC jumper, which reminds me a little bit of the RC jumper in Rainbow Six Siege, but this time it has an extendable robot arm that can go and unscrew things or hack things. Really, again, playing into like, you are this super hacker. There's also the traditional hacking things. I'm sure there'll be mini games. I'm sure you'll be, going into systems. They showed camera hacking and stealth gameplay. They said that the game can be played without killing anyone because I guess you could tase them all. Marcus is a taser, or you could hack your way through. And they really wanted to allow the player to explore and progress in the game based on their desired style of play, whether that was guns blazing, whether that was all hacking and tech, whether that was total stealth. They've also gone to extreme lengths to upgrade the character animation, the movement through the world. Marcus is a much faster character, and I think that small touches like this are what really can take a good game to that next level and become a great game. You'll notice that Marcus moves very quickly. He also has a parkour arsenal, parkour library now that Aiden really didn't have. Aiden was more of the like vault, mantle, climb. Marcus has some really cool and good animations that in some ways look better than Assassin's animations from Assassin's Creed. And I like the fact that they're adding this quick movement mechanic to the game. I think it'll really play into a lot of missions where you need to escape or have stealth or help it really derive its own style of gameplay. To me, that is Watch Dogs 2's biggest mission, is to set itself apart from other open world games and give you missions, both main and side, that feel true to the franchise, true to your character, and deliver a fun, hands-on, mechanics-driven experience the whole way through. Because I got super bored doing the side stuff in Watch Dogs after the beginning bit, and once you realize that many of the missions were just GTA-styled missions with a thin tech layer glossed over the top, it got a little bit dry. So here, the fact that you do have more toys to play with, the fact that you do have an RC car, the fact that you can hack actual cars, you can mass manipulate people, you can hack anyone. Visually, the game is improved immensely, and you may not think that at first blush, especially because Watch Dogs 1 had the whole downgrade issue with its initial trailer. But two things on that point. One, go back and watch that Watch Dogs 1 gameplay, because that game released in May of 2014. 2.5 years later, graphics have improved a lot. We saw a lot of actual gameplay here, not cinematic gameplay, not target renders, but actual gameplay of Marcus in San Francisco, and it looks glorious. The colors pop, the fidelity is on point, and it just looks like a much more polished game from a graphical standpoint, and it's really apparent if you go back and watch Watch Dogs 1. Even in cutscenes, especially in gameplay, it just doesn't look anywhere near as good as this sequel. And for people that are worried that there will be a massive downgrade for Watch Dogs 2, I suggest holding off on that fear, because this game is much closer to release. They saw the huge issues with the downgrade, very valid pushback for Watch Dogs 1, and hopefully they decided to reveal this late in the game in order to combat that, in order to really provide a true trailer, a true gameplay demo, and hopefully in 5 short months that will progress to a true retail disc. The game comes out November 15th, so I don't think you have too much to worry about in terms of downgrades. This isn't some target. And also remember that Watch Dogs 1 was dealing with brand new hardware. It was supposed to launch around the launch dates of the PS4 and Xbox One, and ended up missing those and getting delayed by about 7 months. But that also factored into a lot of the elements, I think, both from a gameplay and a graphical standpoint, that hindered Watch Dogs 1. And I would guess that Assassin's Creed 1 was sort of in the same fashion, that it was limited by new tech, a new franchise, and hopefully here Watch Dogs 2 can sort of live out its fantasy, live out its dream, live out its true vision, as best as humanly possible. They also discussed a heavy emphasis on multiplayer and how you'll seamlessly run into other players. Now, that is something that I really did not feel came together all that well in Watch Dogs 1. I felt like it was kind of, tacked on. I didn't like how it felt. I really didn't enjoy getting, surprised and blindsided by other players, and I really, would have preferred it was its separate mode, but we'll see. Maybe they can do some interesting things here that make it better. I'll stay optimistic because the rest of the game looks so darn good. I mean, Marcus has a freaking billiard ball on a paracord as his melee weapon. It looks like he's flinging a yo-yo around, but it's in fact a billiard ball, which is a whole lot more damaging than a yo-yo. And the melee combat almost reminded me of like Sleeping Dogs or something like that. And I'm sure it won't have that much flexibility, but it did animation and stylistically look a lot more involved and in depth than Watch Dogs 1. Now, some things that we haven't seen are the upgrade system and how that all plays in. We haven't really seen any of the conversations or sort of the overall plot line. And those are elements that could, bring this game down a few notches or help it to rise to the occasion. Watch Dogs 1 started out with what seemed to be a good premise, but it really kind of just, for me, fell apart as the story went along. It made not a whole lot of sense, and it seemed very, very fake. There was also those weird VR things with like the robot spider that killed stuff in the streets. I don't know, some things that felt very tone deaf. And so I wonder how Watch Dogs 2 will handle that and really how it will handle a lot of the side objectives. The fact that Marcus is much more involved with a hacker culture, I hope there's interesting things that they can do to either prey on people or help people or infiltrate. I hope there's a lot of indoor environments. I think that's something that Watch Dogs can do well. The DLC for Watch Dogs 1 was a more focused experience, and I enjoyed that more than the main game because it kind of really drove home the point that, hey, Watch Dogs' baseline gameplay is actually good. Hacking stuff is fun. I like the shooting and cover system there that's now been implemented in other Ubisoft games. And I just... like, the moment-to-moment in the main missions is pretty good. Inside, outside action, using technology and using manipulation of cameras and positioning to really gain an upper hand. I think that's cool, and it seems like they've pushed that to a much further extent here for the sequel and really giving you an arsenal to enjoy. Now, I hope there's not too huge of an arsenal because sometimes you run the risk of putting too many options in the player's hand and then it just feeling like this like smorgasbord of randomness and there's no real, quote, difficulty because you can do whatever you want and there's not a way you have to outsmart or beat the missions. I still hope it has ways to outsmart and beat. I don't like the idea of just, hey, send this car over here and use your drone for this and add a machine gun to the drone and then make your RC jumper blow up and blah, 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 blah. Like, I hope there is still some really metered progression to the game, so you do feel those upgrades as more significant events in Marcus's life and in his storyline, and you have more of a puzzle-like gameplay to battle with, and that's something Watch Dogs can do very well because of that hacking, because of the camera manipulation, because of the stealth and turning, this guard over here to look at this, and then using this to distract this guard, and then blowing this guard up, and then, knocking this guard out silently, and using this taser and whatnot. The gunplay looked really good. Obviously, it will retain a lot of the same features from Watch Dogs 1, so we don't need to go over and harp on those, but I think it looks super cool. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. I came in with very metered expectations, because I'd heard good things. I'd heard that they were making a lot of improvements, but Watch Dogs 1 ended up being such a letdown, I wasn't really sure. I think where they get me the most, though, is the fact that the vibe and the sort of presentation of the game, it seems like they get it. It seems like they have a very clear vision, which is always important for a successful game, and it seems like they're doubling down on the things that made Watch Dogs 1 different and good, rather than doubling down on the things that could make Watch Dogs the next GTA. And there's a lot of pressure on Ubisoft and Watch Dogs 2 this year, because remember, there's no Assassin's Creed game, and so Watch Dogs 2 needs to be their main seller, and they're positioning it as such by putting it in that November 15th slot. Watch Dogs 1 obviously sold really well, but critically was not received as highly, and player response was not as positive. So Watch Dogs 2 has a lot to live up to, and it seems like they're up to the task thus far. We'll see a lot more at E3. I'll get to play the game. I'll let you guys know after my hands-on and more in-depth information. I'm sure we'll get some videos at the Ubisoft press conference and whatnot, some more demos really unveiling and opening up more of the world and more of Marcus. But so far, Marcus looks awesome. I love him as a character. San Francisco looks awesome. I love it as a city. The game looks awesome. And where the developers say they place their emphasis and focus has me really, really excited for Watch Dogs 2. So thank you guys and girls for checking it out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts on Watch Dogs 2, if you're excited for the game, if you're still worried what your favorite parts of the trailer were, how you like Marcus, and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys soon. I'm heading to E3 in a couple days. It's going to be a big show. Cannot wait to share all that with you. Until that time, though, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Drink so much. Have a fantastic day. We will see you all later.